Speaker.
I call Jami-Lee Ross.
Mr Speaker, I was looking forward to a speech from Richard Prosser, who actually heard the submissions on the bill, but I suppose even Asinati Taylor is more diplomatic than Richard Prosser. But there's a pretty fine line there between the two. Let me tell her what success in the Corrections Department is. Success in the Corrections Department, Asinati Taylor, is prisoner education and training up from 5,500 places in 2008 to 13,500 places now. Positive random drug tests in corrections are at their lowest rate ever. Prisoner drug treatment has doubled, and public confidence in corrections is up 53%. So if you want to talk about lip service, that's what we got from the other side. We're actually seeing results in corrections as a result of policies implemented by National Party Ministers of Corrections. Mr Speaker, I want to turn to this bill and outline why I think some of the arguments being put forward by the opposition are quite flawed. The opposition is talking quite a bit at the moment about strip searches. They think the strip searches that's proposed in the bill is absolutely evil. The fact that we're extending it and making that the norm within the Corrections Department is bad. Well, actually, that form of strip search is already in the Corrections Act. The Corrections Act passed when they were in government. If they're saying that that form of strip searching is so bad, why was it even in the legislation put forward by Labor in 2004? In fact, what we're doing is simply making it easier, making it safer for prison officers. To use the more invasive strip search right now, the officer has to believe that the individual has something on them. The less rigorous strip search that they use most actually doesn't pick everything up. We're making it safer for the officers, safer for the prisoners, by giving the officers more scope to pick up any instruments, any issues that the prisoners will have on them, and we're in fact making it safer for the prisoners, safer for the officers this way. Smoke-free prisons, it's interesting hearing the arguments being put forward. They're effectively saying we don't like smoking in prison, we think smoking should be banned in prison, but we're too good to vote for this piece of legislation. We're too good to vote for this piece of legislation because we don't like Judith Collins. Well, actually, she was making a pretty bold step by taking the policy decision that she did. Turns out the courts tended to agree with a prisoner in this case, so we're sorting out the legislative issue. But the key question is here, do you support smoking in prison? By voting against this legislation, the opposition is saying, and David Clendon smiling over there is saying, that they actually are voting to support smoking in prisons. Because if their preferred approach of voting this bill down was successful, then smoking in prisons would be allowed. If you actually don't support smoking in prisons, then vote for this piece of legislation. And the ideological point of view that they're putting forward around the chief executive delegations is another strange piece of argumentation. They're saying that we don't like private prisons, but, you know, they're there and so they should perform much better. But when we put in place some legislation that will help them perform better, they're opposing that too. All we're doing in this legislation is allowing the chief executive to delegate some functions that he would normally delegate to prison managers, allowing those functions to be delegated to the prison manager at the Serco-run prison. Let's just remind them that Serco is running at 95% performance rate, meeting 95% of their targets. We're going to make it easier to do their job so they can perform even better. But the opposition is saying they don't want to see it work, they don't want to see it succeed because they don't think that private prisons are good. But actually we're seeing some pretty good results there. It's working well, and this will make it easier for them to operate. Mr Speaker, this is a pretty sensible bill. It'll do some good things, make it easier for corrections, easier for the people working there, safer for the people working there and the prisoners. That's why it should be supported by this House.
I call Chris Hipkins.
Thank you.